My loves. Thank you for joining me today, Casandra MacAlan, for some thought pain therapy here at Free the Wisdom to Heal the Body. I am going to give this a couple of seconds before I begin, as I have been informed that it's taking some people a little bit to get on. So I appreciate you coming today, and I hope you enjoy the topic. So this was not recommended by someone. Rather, this is a topic that I have chosen for the reason that I really am challenged by it. And I thought, well, if it's something that challenges me, then perhaps it will be something that challenges someone else. And it will help you as it's helped me. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Today's topic is judgment and its relationship to trauma. So, when we look at someone else or something else and we decide that it is wrong or not enough or they are not doing it right, we are in essence saying that their thoughts, beliefs, words, or actions make us feel unsafe. So, let's unpack this. Sometimes I might feel that when you're speaking or behaving in the way that you do, and I recognize that it's different from me and mine, that I feel that you are challenging my belief in myself, and that makes me feel confused and fearful. We say to ourselves, if you can think and feel the way you do, and it's so different than the way I do, then something or someone must be wrong, and I know it's not me. You see, I've given quite a lot of thought to my beliefs. I've given them a lot of my attention. And sure, maybe they're not all my beliefs. I mean, maybe if I'm being honest, that they might be things that I was told, they might be teachings that I was taught, but they also might be born of the experiences that I've had. And thus, they are mine. And if mine are different than yours, well, someone must be wrong, mustn't they? I don't know that mustn't is a word, but I think you know what I mean by that. And knowing, as I believe I know, that two opposing beliefs cannot both exist in the same space of truth, why then I must choose mine. And if you are thinking, speaking, or acting in a way that's different than me, well, then again, someone must be wrong, and it must be you, because it certainly can't be me. Thus, I respond to the stimuli of the discomfort of your opposing being with the feeling that you should be different. And sometimes, with that feeling, I may walk away shaking my head, but sometimes I feel the need to point out to you how you are doing it wrong. Now, my initial intention would be, of course, to save you from pain. Well, at least that's what I tell myself. I want to save you from the pain of thinking like you do. And if you're close to me, if we're intimate, a parent, a friend, a lover, a child, then the drive is the strongest. Sweetheart, I say, you really should be doing it this way because I don't want you to make a mistake. I don't want you to be hurt. So, why is it so important to me that you not make a mistake, or that you not make a mistake that perhaps I have made? Why must I keep you or desire to keep you from screwing up as I see it? Well, because the thought of you in pain frightens me. And that's the truth. If I think I know how you should do something and you do it differently than I would and you get hurt, well, now I have this feeling of responsibility for you and I'm afraid of your pain, which really means I'm afraid of my own. So, why am I so afraid of you being hurt, being angry, being unhappy? Because past trauma has informed me that when someone I love is unhappy, that I might suffer. And not just the suffering I might feel at witnessing your upset, but the suffering you might cause me because you're upset. Maybe you might yell. Maybe you might say hurtful things. You might strike out in an action for those of you who have been physically hurt. Or maybe just through passive aggressive frustration, leaving me feel unsafe. Maybe you might withdraw, leaving me feel alone or abandoned. Maybe you might even self-harm or turn to drugs or alcohol. You might even sink into depression. Whatever it is that you choose to do as a result of your pain often resonates with a memory of someone else who I felt harmed me or left me or simply energetically went away. Now, if, on the other hand, I can point out to you when your thoughts disturb my peace of mind or when you are other to me, perhaps I can get you on board with agreeing with me. In which case, if I'm wrong, we go down, but at least we go down together. At least I'm not alone. At least I don't feel unloved. If I can control those that I love, then I believe I can always be safe. I can always anticipate their behaviors because they're my own. If I've made a mistake in controlling your thoughts with my own, then I can apologize or sympathize, and this feels easier than the thought that you might be out there unknowingly, or worse, willfully, making choices that I am certain will lead to your unhappiness. Does this make sense? I'll see if I have any comments. Evelyn says, wow. Well, I hope that's resonating. So, what does it mean when it's not an intimate? When it's a public figure, a politician, someone who might have control over our lives with their choices and behaviors? Again, it goes back to that feeling that someone must be right and someone must be wrong. And I'm certain that wrong person is not me. So what can I do? How can I escape from this constant feeling of judgment for those around me? What they like, what they don't like, what they do, what they don't do. Well, I can decide that my version of right is not their version of right or truth, and allow them to have it, staying secure in the faith that whatever happens, I will be safe. And it's my belief that the harder that is for someone to believe that they would be safe, then the more trauma, like myself, they have likely suffered. But ultimately, this is the way out of suffering, because we cannot control anyone but ourselves, right? We're not responsible for anyone else's behavior but our own. How we choose to see things, how we choose to react to what we hear and see, that's where our power lies, and that's where safety lies. Just because I think that what you think is wrong doesn't mean it is. It's not wrong for you, clearly, because in this space and time, it's what you believe based on everything you have been taught and experienced. And those beliefs are not less valuable than mine, nor less true, even when they contradict me. In fact, with this contradiction comes amazing contrast. With this contrast comes an opportunity for me to see that perhaps my beliefs need revision. Perhaps my teaching, my upbringing, my judgments, my trauma responses, my experiences need some awareness brought to them, some light shined into the shadow. I know for myself, my daughter does this a lot for me. My belief systems that I grew up having and then placing upon her are not the same for her environment, for her generation, for the decade in which she lives. And it's powerful to see the ways in which I try to save her with beliefs that don't apply to her. I don't know if that makes sense. Perhaps you might have experienced someone's differing beliefs and the contradictions they bring to you as a powerful way to help enlighten your own. Share. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily that I would change my thoughts to be yours, but it might mean that your opposing views would be the catalyst to a new awareness that my spirit has been seeking. Or perhaps they, in their contrast, would allow me to seek deeper into my own beliefs and habits to discover that I like what I see in myself. I like what I think. I love and respect who I am even more than perhaps I had previously seen. Doesn't that have value? And if we focus on that love for ourselves, then it naturally follows that we will have more love for everyone else, including and allowing an acceptance for those that disagree with us, for those that combat us, for those that I cannot agree with, even for those that make us afraid. Despite everything that's happening everywhere, we can still love. That's where our power lies. In love and in the faith that everything is exactly as this moment has designed it to be. That control of another person is an illusion. And that whether or not we can understand it, we're all living our lives in accordance with how we're meant to live it. The lessons we're meant to learn, the consequences that we're meant to have, the understandings that we're meant to reach. And if we try to control any of that, well, then we're just placing our will above someone else's, which ultimately will lead to more pain just for us. Only we hurt when we look at someone else and decide that they are wrong. Only we suffer when we want someone else to be other than they want to be. And freedom from fear lies in the acceptance of what is, not the fighting of it. So I hope that that was helpful, and perhaps it will spark some awarenesses within yourself of ways in which you can release this judgment that you have on other people or situations that you can't control and disagree with. So I'll go to comments and see if anybody has any questions for me today. Emily said, "What types of suffering can judgment lead to? In other words, does my judgment of others cause direct harm to me? Because sometimes it feels good to judge someone as other, as terrible as that sounds. It allows me to not care so much and perhaps be indifferent to what they're doing." Wow, okay, so let's unpack this in its pieces. What types of suffering can judgment lead to? Well, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Because ultimately, when we're judging someone else and deciding that they are other and thus wrong, we are the ones that suffer because we feel that in cases where they're intimate with us, that the consequences of their wrongness will harm us in some way. And those that are not intimate with us, well, maybe we have a little easier time, as you said, distancing ourselves and becoming somewhat indifferent. However, what if we feel that their behaviors, their judgments, their actions can affect us? Well, then it's hard to be indifferent. And so we suffer still. Every time I feel that someone should be different than they are, there is a cascade of hormones that make me feel like I need to fight it, flee from it, be frozen, or try to fix it in some way because I can't just accept it, if that makes sense. And it doesn't sound terrible to judge someone else. I mean, this is the reason why I made this live. Is it something that I can be challenged of from the microcosm to the macrocosm every single day? Every single day, there's going to be something that comes up where I'm afraid for myself, really, based on someone else's behaviors or what they believe in or what they're saying. And recognizing that it's fear for ourselves that we're really having and that it can be related to trauma responses from your past is a good way to help you step back and go, I'm safe. Whatever this person believes, whatever it is they say, whatever it is they're doing, I'm safe. And it gives me a wonderful opportunity to wish them best and wish them healing, or to learn, as I mentioned with my daughter, to learn how their contrary beliefs can be actually something that I need to look at. And that's helpful because it makes me broader in my awareness. And as we get older, we tend to have that narrowness of thought, that kind of crystallization of thought. And anything I think that helps us broaden that, break through that, open it up, can only be beneficial because it eases our pain and our fear. So I hope that answers that. Judgments on ourselves. Yes, well, that is a different topic because obviously you can find the connection there, right? Which is probably why you so poignantly went there, because we judge ourselves chronically, or at least I do. They say that we think on an average like 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day, and 70 to 80% of them are negative. And so we all have this constant negative narrative in our head telling us everything is wrong, we're not doing it right, it's not enough, and it's all fear-based, right? It's all we're afraid. We're afraid of disconnection, we're afraid of loss, we're afraid of hurting. So that's a really good topic, self-judgment. Also something I am very challenged with. Laurel says, one tool I learned from work is I'm in alignment, but not in agreement. Meaning, I get what you're saying, I don't agree, but that's okay. So when you say you're in alignment, what does that mean and how does it differ from agreement? Because when if I say I'm in alignment with somebody, that means for me that I'm with you. I'm right there. I can see what you see. I can feel what you feel. So does that mean the same thing? I would like to know. Because that's a good awareness to have, right? Like you do you, I'm doing me, but we're still good. Hi, Liz. Oh, it's so good to see you live. Liz Urbina, guys, folks, sorry for saying guys, is an incredible health coach. And if you get a chance, go to her page and her group. And she does some amazing things helping women, especially middle-aged women, with diet and losing weight. So, hi, Liz. Thanks for coming. Emily thumbs up me. So I hope that means that was helpful. Susan said fear. Yes, right? I will leave you all today because I'm running over time. That the ultimate mantra that I have for myself, and I know that if you're in one of my programs or if you're a client of mine or if you're a family member or even a friend of mine, I have probably said 1,000 times, focus on what you want, not what you fear. And I say that to myself all the time, some version of that. So if my mind is leading myself on a willful, egregious mental path where I'm going to end up suffering, or as I like to say, I'm laying fear pavers for a path I don't want to walk on, I master those thoughts. I shift them to what it is I want to achieve. What is the next thing that I can do? What's a simple step that I can take that will move me from the path that leads to all the things I don't want to the path that leads to me embodying me in the grandest version that is, without fear that it's not enough, or it's not right, or it could be better. So focus on what you want, not what you fear. Or choose love, not fear, is another way to say that. Laurel says, in a work setting, it's usually for some action that's being proposed. So I'll do that. I just don't agree that it's the best option. And in a non-work setting, like, I get you. We just think differently. I love that. That's really helpful to add that work component in as well. Because in some cases where someone's proposing something that we really don't get along with, but it's our job to agree to it, I think that's a really powerful and gentle way to get in alignment, but not agreement, as you said. Yulia, oh, hi, sweetheart. Yulia is another incredible woman who, if you don't already follow her, I highly recommend that you do. She has women's groups where she does retreats all over the world, and she's an incredible spiritual teacher. So thank you for showing up. Such a powerful discussion and a clear explanation. Oh, well, I'm glad you joined me today. So thank you, everyone. I guess I can say every lady because it's just women here today. Thank you for joining me. And as always, take care of yourself for me and focus on what you want, not what you fear. I love you. Bye.